Mafia, also known as Werewolf, is a party game created in the USSR by Dmitry Davidoff in 1986, modeling a conflict between an informed minority, the Mafia, and an uninformed majority, the Innocents. At the start of the game, each player is secretly assigned a role affiliated with one of these teams. The game has two alternating phases. Night, during which the Mafia may covertly murder an innocent, and day, in which surviving players debate the identities of the mafiosi and vote to eliminate a suspect. Play continues until all of the Mafia have been eliminated or until the Mafia outnumbers the Innocents. History. Dmitry Davidoff is generally acknowledged as the game's creator. He dates the first game to spring 1986 at the psychology department of Moscow State University, spreading to classrooms, dorms, and summer camps of Moscow University. Wired attributes the creation to Davidoff but dates the first game to 1987, with 1986 being the year in which Davidoff was starting the work which would produce Mafia. He developed the game to combine psychology research with his duties teaching high school students. The game became popular in other Soviet colleges and schools, and in the 1990s it began to be played in other parts of Europe and then the United States. By the mid-90s a version of the game became a Latvian television series. Andrew Plotkin gave the rules a werewolf theme in 1997, arguing that the Mafia were not that big a cultural reference, and that the werewolf concept fit the idea of a hidden enemy who looked normal during the daytime. Mafia and a variant called Thing have been played at science fiction writers' workshops since 1998. And have become an integral part of the annual Clarion and Viable Paradise workshops. The werewolf variant of Mafia became widespread at major tech events, including the Game Developers Conference, eTech, Foo Camps, and South by Southwest. In 1998, the Kaliningrad Higher School of the Internal Affairs Ministry published the methodical textbook Nonverbal Communications, Developing Role-Playing Games, Mafia, and Murderer, for a course on visual psychodiagnostics, to teach various methods of reading body language and nonverbal signals. In September 1998, Mafia was introduced to the Graduate College at Princeton University, where a number of variants were developed. In March 2006, Ernest Fedorov was running a Mafia club in Kiev, using his own patented variation of the rules. The club organizes games, rates players, and awards prizes. In June 2006, a Rockingham school inquiry was launched after parents complained of the traumatic effects classroom Mafia was having on their fifth-grade children. Davidoff responded to the reports, saying that as a parent who had studied child psychology for 25 years, he felt that the game could teach kids to distinguish right from wrong, and that the positive message of being honest could overcome the negative effects of an evil narrator moderating the game as if it were a scary story. In September 2013, a web chat variation of Mafia began to gain popularity, with players participating from across the globe using only web cameras and microphones. Chris Stottle founded Daily Mafia, a community which hosts games for hundreds of individuals on the popular streaming website Twitch.tv. The stream is viewed regularly by hundreds of individuals worldwide and has even stemmed the creation of multiple spin-off Mafia streams, such as Uzilla's Super Mafia All-Stars Bo One Town's Town Mafia, and Jesus Toast Mafia's Friday Night Mafia. In late 2013, Michael Thingyman Harders founded the Game of Mafia Champions, an invitation-only series in which players from multiple internet communities play in a series of Mafia games, culminating in a final game, where the best player of the year is determined. The series was first hosted on 2+2 Poker Forum's Puzzles and Other Games section and has since been moved to Mafia Universe. Mafia was called one of the 50 most historically and culturally significant games published since 1800 by About.com. Gameplay. In its simplest form, Mafia is played by two teams. the Mafia and the Innocents. At the start of the game, every mafioso is given the identities of their teammates, whereas the Innocents only receive the number of mafiosi in the game. Live games require a moderator who does not participate as a player. There are two phases: night and day. At night, certain players secretly perform special actions. During day, players discuss and vote to lynch or eliminate one player. These phases alternate with each other until all mafiosi have been eliminated or until the Mafia outnumbers the Innocents. Some players may be given roles with special abilities. Common special roles include detective, an innocent who may learn the team of one player every night; doctor, an innocent who may protect a player from being killed every night; barman, a mafioso who may cancel the effect of another role's ability every night; vigilante, a mafioso who may kill a player every night. Andrew Plotkin recommends having exactly 2 mafiosi, whereas the original Davidoff rules suggest a third of the players be mafiosi. Davidoff's original game does not include roles with special abilities. In his rules for Werewolf, Andrew Plotkin recommends that the first phase be day and that there be an odd number of players. These specifications prevent players from being killed before the first day and in most scenarios ensure that the game will end dramatically on the lynching rather than with an anticlimactic murder. Night, all players close their eyes. The moderator then instructs all members of the Mafia to open their eyes and acknowledge their accomplices. The Mafia members pick a victim by silently gesturing to indicate their target and to show unanimity, then close their eyes again. A similar process occurs for other roles with nightly actions. In the case of the detective, the moderator may indicate the target's innocence or guilt by using gestures such as nodding or head shaking. Night may be accompanied by players tapping gently to mask sounds made by gesturing. Day, the moderator instructs players to open their eyes and announces who died the previous night. According to some rules, the role of the murdered player is revealed. According to others, it is not. Dead players may not attempt to influence the game. Discussion ensues. At any point, a player may accuse someone of being a mafioso and prompt others to vote to lynch him. If over half of the players do so, the accused person is eliminated, their role is revealed, and night begins. Otherwise, the phase continues until a lynching occurs. Because players have more freedom to deliberate, days tend to be longer than nights. Game theory. Mathematical study. Mafia is a complicated game to model, so most analyses of optimal play have assumed both that there are only townsfolk and mafiosos and that the townsfolk never have a probability of identifying the Mafia that is better than chance. Early treatment of the game concentrated on simulation, while more recent studies have tried to derive closed-form equilibrium solutions for perfect play. In 2006, the computer scientists Braverman, Itesami and Mossel proved that without detectives and with perfect players, the randomized strategy is optimal for both citizens and Mafia. When there is a large enough number of players to give both groups similar probability of winning, they showed that the initial number of mafiosi needs to be proportional to the square root of the total number of players p. That is, with a simulation, they confirmed that 50 mafiosi would have almost a 50% chance to win among 10,000. The Mafia's chance of victory is, which is a good approximation when the right-hand side is below 40%. If any detectives are added to the game, Braverman al. proved that the number of mafiosi must remain at a fixed proportion of the total number of players for their chance of winning to remain constant. In 2008, Erlin Yao derived specific analytical bounds for the Mafia's win probability when there are no detectives. In a paper from 2010, exact formula for the probability that the Mafia wins was found. Moreover, it was shown that the parity of the initial number of players plays an important role. In particular, when the number of mafiosi is fixed and an odd player is added to the game, the Mafia winning chance do not drop but rise by a factor of approx. results in live play. In live real-time play, the innocents typically win more often than game theory suggests. Several reasons for this have been advanced. The physiological stress of sustained lying degrades the initial ability of mafiosi to deceive the innocents, much more than a model of perfect play would predict, especially if the innocents can get the town emotionally involved in the game's outcome. If you're trying to feign shock or anger, it's much harder to do over a long period. People accused of something they're trying to hide will start out feigning outrage. How dare you ask me that? But that will start to change to objection rather than shock, as it's psychologically very difficult to mimic emotion. Dr. Simon Moore, Wired UK. The information revealed by the mafiosi voting patterns tilt against him later in the game. One of the game's fans, Max Ventilla, has said that, if the villagers are allowed to keep a pencil and paper, they always win. As players get more experience, their strategic sophistication and ability to spot and use deception increases. They will typically get better at the skills needed for playing innocents faster, being villagers more often than mafiosi. The metagame aspect. Dimmer Davidoff has said, past connections will always lose to future collaborations. When playing several Mafia games with the same people, it's more helpful to be known for honesty than for deceit. Davidoff considers that so important that he thinks the advantages of playing the mafioso role honestly outweigh the disadvantages. But the Mafia can win in live play. The best chance of winning occurs when mafioso bond with their innocent neighbors and convince those neighbors to value that bond over dispassionate analysis. The game designers Salin and Zimmerman have written that the deep emergent social gameplay in Mafia create ideal conditions for this.